Let's take a look at the page structure along with the editor in the Telediagram program. First, let's start with the top icons. I am taking one digital input and one digital output on the screen. First, it represents the mouse icon, and next to it represents the connection between blocks. For example, I can move forward by clicking and deleting, then bringing the mouse back to the output, pressing and holding, and dragging it to the input. The next icon is the Add Object mode. For instance, the last time I had taken a digital output screen as a function block. When I click and take the screen again, it's a digital output. Let's take a different block for example. I took the output on the screen like this. Again, I can take the screen using Add Object mode. The next icon is Text Adding mode. What can be done in Text Adding mode? Detailed information related to this project can be provided. Here, detailed information like IP address, port information can be written. We can The next icon is for adding line labels. Let me give you an example related to this. You have a very large-scale project. You are using many function block diagrams and say you wanted to contact multiple outputs with one input or contact a different function block with the same input information or send one. Normally, we can make such connections multiple times, but as I said, in projects where many blocks are used, this can cause a visual clutter. Instead, we can address with line labels. For example, when I click inside the digital input, each block has a line definition section. It automatically defines its own DI0, the others as DQ0, etc. When you want to change the information here, for example, I define such a line definition. We use adding line labels to use this information elsewhere on the page. I clicked once, took it on the screen. There is no start reference. When I double-clicked, I clicked on the magnifying glass there. You can clear the relevant reference either from here or with the backspace button. Here I found the digital input one-line definition and double-clicked. And I said OK. It gave me another output here and I connected it back to DQ1. Thus, DI0 was connected to both DQ0 and DQ1. Let's show this in simulation. For instance, when I activate digital input 0, I see the lights of both the DQ0 and DQ1 LEDs. Thus, we can quickly transfer information to multiple points via line labels. Let's continue. The next topic is grouping blocks. Grouping blocks visually represents a situation. For example, you wanted to gather your project's inputs and outputs at one point and then transfer them to the lower parts of the project via line labels. That is, you wanted to see both input and output information at one point. And you can group them. For example, I created a group title called Inputs and Outputs. You can also change the color. I made it blue. When I said OK, it will be blue. Since it is selectable now, I can move it left and right. I selected all. We can narrow and widen from here. We can also delete by pressing the multiply. If we don't want it to be selectable, when we remove the constantly selectable tick, as you can see, we only move within the relevant blocks. The groups become fixed. You have the chance to group multiple like this. Additionally, we can also make such a visual change. If we draw a rectangle, the outer frame turns into a structure that is empty inside. Let's continue. The next icon is Save. We can save the page. We have different saving options. The next setting is the Diagram Settings icon. In diagram settings, as seen currently, we can observe the page size. When I hold down the control and move with the mouse wheel, I can observe the page size from here. When I click on diagram settings, a page structure of 1600 by 2500 is set. If you want, I can change it to different sizes, as seen. Or if you define it yourself, 2500 by 3700. That is, you can expand in the diagram settings section when the area on your The next section is zoom in, zoom out. When you press the plus, you zoom in. Let me show from the blocks. We are getting closer. When you press the minus, you zoom out. When you say 1 to 1, it turns to 1 to 1 pixel. Let's move on to the next icon is find. Under each block we see values as B and M. B represents the block number of that block, M represents the Modbus address. Each block you take on the screen has its own block number and Modbus address. Why did I say this? When we make a search about the related block in the find part, there are many methods. Block number, Modbus address, block name. For example, let's search digital input 0 by block number. I selected the block number and I am searching for block number 0. As seen on the screen, when I double-click digital input 0, it takes me to the relevant block. From the subsections, for example, 1002. This time I will search by Modbus address. I came up to the top of the page. I wrote the Modbus address as 1002. Found all. You can also press enter. I have displayed that it is related to the relevant digital output. Let's also search by line tag. Digital, for example. I'm writing digital in the line definition. When I say find, it directly lists blocks that have the digital input 1. Now let's move to the left section. On the left side, gate types and projects. By the way, let me give a detail about line labels. We were calling and defining references for line tags one by one as I showed before. Besides, it can also be done simply like this. Move to the line tags page and click once you've moved it to the screen. You can easily bring the relevant line tags to the screen. What's in the left tab section? Gate types, line labels, block packs, project section, open documents, and file system are our headings. Now in projects, these might have been closed. If you ask how to bring this page back, there is show sidebar in the lower left part. When I click, the relevant page opens. If you say I want two different categories, when you click like this, you can multiply the page. Here we can change projects to door types. We can move up and down and expand left and right. As you can see. I'll talk about the sections on the left side, the bottom left where we determine the connection with the PLC, the device connected disconnected section we come to by clicking. Then the related device sending section to the project. In the upper category, online view. That is, we loaded the PLC project onto the device and the time we can do live monitoring. Our simulation section, the section where we do the virtual simulation. In our projects section, there are several areas where various settings can be adjusted. In the device configuration section, parameters related to devices can be configured. In the PLCs and expansions section, modifications can be made to PLCs and expansion modules, and more. Gate Editor, the section where we do the current design. While designing a project on Telediagram, you can design the project on a single page, a single editor screen, or work on multiple pages and have the chance to send the project in one go. For this, right-click on the test project folder and say Add New, then select the MDV file and give it a name. Be careful not to have any spaces or special characters while designing the related project. I said Next and then Complete, then I had another page. There will be no address conflicts between the blocks. For example, 1000, 1001, 1002, and 1003. The next binary block I will take will be 1004. So there is no question of address conflicts between pages. We can transition between pages with line labels. For example, let's say fault. When we say fault, when we want to use this information on another page, we come and use the fault tag via line labels. In this way, we can design our Telediagram project.